And so even though they like annihilated this group of this coven of witches, well, what if there's like a forsaken granddaughter or something who like refused to be in the coven, but like comes to find them because they you know uh because of what they did, but really it's to like thank them, and then they have sort of like a witch on their side. Like the advanced choose your own adventures that in my collection from Goosebumps had a inventory on the back page where you'd write down things that you would like collect as you read, and then you'd come to certain decision points where it's like, if you have the bag of marbles, then you can do this. And so if you didn't get that bag of marbles and you're reading that option now, you're like, damn it, I gotta go find these bag of marbles now. Who would win, Hag versus Lich? We could go min max tactically, stat them up, fight it out, see who can withstand the other. Feels like probably Lich. Just the magic is probably too much for the Hag. Or you can go the more interesting route, the narrative route, and say what's more dramatic in the story, what's more interesting for the characters. That's probably who should win. That's a good point, Gibson. Lich versus a coven of hags or a coven of witches. That's another story. That's another thing entirely. So I sort of have my party that is working up to fight a lich and fight the guild of this lich as they're exploring. They've done this a little bit, but I'm sort of keeping track as they go from town to town and place to place. Like they're sort of building up goodwill, right? Like people who know them, people who have seen them do good works. And so at some point, like in their sort of Avengers style, like uh bringing everybody together, like they're sort of forming their own sort of like anti-guild group. And so even though they like annihilated this group of this coven of witches, well, what if there's like a forsaken granddaughter or something who like refused to be in the coven, but like comes to find them because they uh because of what they did, but really it's to like thank them, and then they have sort of like a witch on their side. Like, because to a certain extent, like building up across an entire region, building up a bunch of contacts, like I think you have to sort of help your party do that. Like if they're really really productive, or really sort of aggressive's not the right word, but if they're really active in the game, they might do that themselves. But if they don't, it can be a really helpful way to add a lot of kind of tools to their tool belt to have like contacts throughout the world as they sort of gear up for some final confrontations. Trying to learn about different creatures, monsters, etc. So trying to get ideas. The nice part is there are so many, right? Monster Manual has probably more monsters in it than you could ever actually use to their fullest extent. Like that's probably the best book. Player's Handbook is probably necessary anyway, but Monster Manual, Dungeon Master's Guide, if you got to get one of the three as a Dungeon Master, the Monster Manual is going to help. That said, there are also other monster books that can be fun too, especially with different techniques. Like there are some ways that monsters are built out in Flea Monsters, for instance, or Flea Mortals, that is really interesting and changes things a lot. But so all I need to do, this is so stupid, all I need to do to manipulate this is to go down here. Funny thought the other day, what if there's a choose your own adventure style of cursed pages in the document where it says on page 1677, go to page 2765, and that page says go to page 1677. I definitely like the idea of branching paths. Choose your own adventure for sure. Yes. Choose your own adventure, and also like especially like with different sets of instructions. Some of the more like the advanced choose your own adventures that in my collection from Goosebumps had a inventory on the back page where you'd write down things that you would like collect as you read, and then you'd come to certain decision points where it's like, if you have the bag of marbles, then you can do this. And so if you didn't get that bag of marbles and you're reading that option now, you're like, damn it, I gotta go find these bag of marbles now the next time I read through this. Turn to choose your own adventure game, a book into like almost a tactical game, like a dungeon crawl or something. Any race or species you wish they would add to be playable? Um, none really come to mind. I feel like in terms of like, you know, player characters, I feel like there's a lot of options, and there's a lot of like people have made so many custom things. If you're like, I really want to play a human ladybug, like somebody's probably made that and you can find something to get started. Yeah, my goal will be to basically use this to like I'll use it as a reference. So there are a set of things that I want to improve going from this one to the next one. So in theory, I should have a lot of the layouts that I like. I don't like how I created, for instance, the page masters. I think I can create them as individual masters rather than spreads. Obviously, having to create spreads creates like way more variables to manage. I also think that I can define flows in the master template. So there's things like that that like clearly I'll use this as a reference, but when I create the one for my other one shot, I'll probably update it. Um, so there'll be a new kind of new version of the template. Same assets though. It'll just be like a new bones, and then of course in the future I could always like migrate over to it. So I'll try to develop it as I go. Okay, I'll figure that out. Because I think that this workflow is as tedious as it might seem sometimes with the back and forth, like the export, the run the job, republish or like resync. This is like for me miles better than what I did last time. What it was like, I don't know, last summer when I was messing around with this stuff, I was literally like writing so much of the content directly into InDesign. I hated that. Okay, so that at least gives me tables. It's not going to give me final layout by any stretch, but I can consider tables to be fixed. Okay, stats and mechanics are probably that's probably next. That's probably